What's going on, guys? Ben, aka Sauce here, and today I'm bringing you guys another video. And if you're new around here, I upload Madden, NFL, and Falcons content all the time. So make sure you subscribe if you're new and like this video if you enjoy. But anyways, as you can see by the title and the thumbnail, I'll be going over the Falcons' potential draft players in the first round on the draft on Thursday and tell you guys what I think of them. And at the end, I will give you who I want the Falcons to draft. And this is like a little bit of a get to know you if you don't know all these guys. I'm going to go by position, starting with the most likely position, which is defensive end, edge rusher. First, we have Mike Green. And Mike Green is an edge out of Marshall. He is a redshirt junior, 6'3", 250 pounds. And his first season in college, he only played 4 games at Virginia, totaling 1 sack. And then his second season, he never played with the team, and then he was released by the team due to sexual assault allegations with his girlfriend at Virginia. And then so his third season, he went to Marshall, and that's when he was second team All American. He was Sun Belt Conference Defensive Player of the Year, first team All Sun Belt, and he was the finalist for the nation's top defensive end award. He had 17 sacks, and he ranked second in the nation in tackles for loss, and he led the team in forced fumbles, started every game, 84 tackles, 2 pass breakups. And some pros with him is that he possesses explosive power, strong core, and full tilt motor, plays the ball with a high level of violence and physicality. He has burst, leverage, and leg drive, and they propel him into the backfield. And some knocks on him is that he lacks length and mass at an edge rusher position, gets knocked off course by the long poke of a tackle, and plays so hard that he occasionally runs out of gas. And NFL.com says his player comp is Alex Highsmith. He was great at the Senior Bowl and comes with a lot of great moves. And again, his biggest knock, aside from the stuff on the field, is his sexual assault allegations from his girlfriend. Next, we have James Pierce Jr., edge out of Tennessee, 6'5", 245 pounds, and he was a top 15 nationally ranked player coming out of high school. Played minimally in his first season at Tennessee, and then in 2023, first team All SEC, led team with 14 and a half tackles for loss, tied for eighth in the FBS with 10 sacks. Played in all 13 games with 3 starts. He had a pick, returned for a touchdown, 28 tackles, 2 forced fumbles. And then he was arrested in December for disobeying orders from police after being stopped for speeding and driving on a suspended license. Charges were eventually dropped after he showed proof he successfully obtained a driver's license and paid court costs for a speeding ticket. And then this past season, 2024, first team All SEC, led the team in tackles for loss, sacks, played in every game with 9 starts. He had 7.5 sacks, 13 tackles for loss. One scout says he is a high tipped linear pass rusher with explosive takeoffs and good speed to power, but a lack of bend and flattening at the top. His top pressure rate is partially uh, re- derived from an instinctive feel for positioning, allowing him to work around protection for quick wins into the pocket. And some pros, as I just named, he's explosive first, second, and third steps in his rush, creates big speed to power push despite a lack of mass and bend. Like I say, he's only 245 pounds, as Mike Green, who's 2 inches smaller, weighs more than him. And some of the cons of drafting him as a player is he needs more mass and play length for transition into pros. Pass rush, pass rush can be knocked off track by a firm punch, and his draft comp is Odafe Owen. And another quote is, I was told by one scout that Pierce Jr. is seen as a player with the worst character report of any player in this class. Another scout told me they think the environment and people around him in Tennessee were the main issues, and they think if um, he gets into an NFL building, he could become a professional. And he wasn't allowed to do a single interview at Tennessee to the media, and he called out his defensive coaching staff. And so the problem with him is more off the field issues with his personality and his character issues. And yeah. Thirdly, we have a Georgia guy, Mykel Williams, edge, 6'5", 260 pounds, and he is a junior. He was all freshman. He was All American freshman year. Second year was second team All SEC. Third year was second team All SEC again, with leading the team in forced fumbles and playing through an ankle injury suffered in the season opener. Gregory Rousseau is his player comp, and a quote here is that an upside prospect with loads of trait. Williams simply needs more time and more snaps to fill out his frame. He is an explosive athlete who can use his exceptional length and keep tackles and tight ends at the push at the end of his punch. Um, he More than 30% of his career tackles resulted in a loss, which is amazing. And some cons that he's inconsistent press and shed at point of attack. It needs to improve base strength and upper body power. And so through three edge rushers so far, we have one more to go. Um, I'll get into the rankings after I go through the last guy. But the last guy is Shemar Steward, 6'5", 267 pounds. He has very long arms, and his 40-yard dash was 4.59 seconds. His vertical jump was a 40-inch vertical. Broad jump was nearly 11 feet. This guy is a freak athlete. He played in 12 games, 13 games, and 12 games through his three seasons, and was all SEC third team his final year, but 1.5 sacks every year of his career. But he's always compared to Danielle Hunter because Danielle Hunter is also a freak of nature, but had little production in college. And he does, however, Shemar Stewart, that is, has a lot of hurries in his career, which is at least a good thing. He's getting to the quarterback, just not taking him down at the rate that scouts would like to see. Um, some cons, he has a puzzling lack of career production relative to his traits, allows blockers into his frame, diminishing his length, and gets pushed off his base and widened at the edge. He is truly a boom or bust. And that's why he is my fourth prospect for the Falcons. And that is because we really, really need edge help. And this guy, we don't really have time to develop this guy. We need him ASAP, and we can't afford to go through developing this guy for this year and next year. And I don't think we have great defensive line coaches either that can get him there because, well, our defensive line sucks, and it has for many, many years. And so he's going to be my fourth place guy. Third place, we have James Pierce Jr. and this is majority due this is majority because of his character issues. Um, he has had great production for 2 years, which I do value. Um, Again, he had 10 sacks in 2023 and 7.5 sacks in 2024. He was first team All SEC both seasons. And second place, I have Mike Green. Mike Green was phenomenal last year. He was the best out of all four of these guys this past college season, but he was not playing in a Power Four conference. He was playing in the Sun Belt, but he was insane. And even at the Senior Bowl, he was also insane. But he also has those allegations in 1 year of amazing production and not in a Power Four conference. And that leaves one guy, Mykel Williams, out of Georgia, is my number one edge rusher. Again, he was second team All SEC. He was third team All SEC, and then he was second team All SEC. And this past season for Georgia, he led the team in forced fumbles, and he was playing through an ankle injury suffered in the season opener. And he's a guy that had 30% of his career tackles resulting in a loss, which is something we really, really need in Atlanta. And that is it for the defensive ends. Moving on to cornerbacks, we have Will Johnson, cornerback, Michigan. 6'2", 194 pounds. He was a top 20 recruit out of high school, was on All-American freshman team. Second year was All Big Ten conference team. Third year was an honorable mention after missing the second half of the year with a foot injury. J.C. Horn of the Panthers is his NFL player comp per NFL.com. Teams love big, fluid receivers. I mean, sorry, this is a quote. Teams love big, fluid cornerbacks with ball production, and that is exactly what Johnson offers. He's instinctive and plays with good body control and change of direction in space. He can play man coverage, but he's at his best when playing with his eyes forward instead of chasing routes downfield. He has good pre-snap play recognition. He's big, smooth, and instinctive, presses with patient feet and strong reroutes, and a couple knocks on him is that he suffered a season-ending toe turf injury this past October, which us Falcons fans really don't like turf toe injuries because that's what Julio Jones dealt with the latter half of his career. He he has some ball greed, which makes him susceptible to double moves. And an AFC executive says he needs to get a whole lot better at tackling. And so, yeah, Will Johnson, with all that being said, he is a great prospect in my mind. And another cornerback we have is Jihaad Barron. He is also very good and is my second cornerback in this draft. He had a 4.3940, 4 seconds, 4.39 seconds. He has good size and strength to be a great nickel cornerback. Doesn't have a lot of reps in man coverage though. And if we're talking about cornerbacks, I definitely do have Will Johnson number one and Jahdae Barron number two. Moving on to O linemen. Jake Matthews is 37. Caleb McGay, Caleb McGarry is on the final year of his contract. If we were to get an O line, they would be a backup this year before taking the place of McGarry, unless he's traded this offseason or they, for whatever reason, sign him to an extension. And I would not be against this, though, because we've seen what Michael Penix has done with a great O line. And Wisconsin, he led the nation in passing yards. And I would be okay with this. It would be like the Michael Penix drafting where we're competing, but we draft a guy in the first round who's not going to help us this year. But I wouldn't be super against this. I don't have player profiles for like Will Campbell or Membu, but sorry, I don't know his name. Out of Missouri, I'm pretty sure. Because I have never dove deep into offensive linemen, and I'm not gonna sit up here and pretend like I am a someone who's done extensive research on O linemen. But anyways, that with that being said, I would be okay with an O lineman. Moving on to linebacker, we got one guy here. We have Jihaad Campbell out of Alabama, linebacker, 6'3", 235 pounds. He was a top 15 player nationally out of high school and was a reserve his rookie year. And then in 2024, he was first team All SEC, led team with 117 tackles, 11 and a half tackles for loss, 5 sacks, tied the team lead with 2 forced fumbles and started every game. And the season before that, 2023, he was recovering from an injury, but he had 8 starts with 66 tackles, a pick, 4 tackles for a loss. He has the built-in traits of an Alabama linebacker, but might need to upgrade in some areas. He doesn't play with early instincts or play recognition, and is inconsistent in challenging blockers and leveraging his run fits. Campbell uses his speed and athleticism to help mitigate mistakes and get to the football at a relatively high rate. He can fill a hole at linebacker, and he reported 5.5 sacks last year in his 13 games. So he is kind of an edge linebacker combo guard, not guard, combo player, which is something we could use because we could use some linebacker help. We could also use some edge help, obviously. And he is projected to go a little bit higher than where the Falcons are drafting, but if he falls, I would really like him. Alrighty. Moving on to strong safety. We have Malakhi Starks. He is one of the most pro-ready players in this draft and would be great for the Falcons. He also attended Georgia. In my mock draft, my 1.0 mock draft, make sure you check that out. I had the Falcons drafting him, but that was before we signed Jordan Fuller to be our strong safety. And we could still use him, but I feel like we have more pressing needs. He's a 3-year starter with high leverage games on his resume. Starks is a versatile safety with the size and athleticism to eliminate contested catches and the speed and ball skills to shine when the action travels deep. Connection to the route is inconsistent in man, and he's baited out of position by misdirection, but better discipline and anticipation should clean that up. He's not a true force player near the line, and his pursuit angles can be raggedy, but he gets guys down when he's in position. So the thing about him is that we do have Jesse Bates, who is one of the best safeties in the NFL, and with learning behind him, he I have no doubt that he would be one of the best safeties in the league. Malakhi Starks would, and this is again kind of like Michael Penix, kind of like an offensive line. This would be kind of a not a waste, but kind of a waste for the first season because he would not get very many playing time behind Jordan Fuller and Jesse Bates. And the Falcons did interview him at the combine, and he said in an interview that he would love to stay home and play for the Falcons. But with us signing Jordan Fuller, I don't think this is plausible. But I do love Malakhi Starks as a prospect. So if we trade back into the first or somehow get him in the second round, which would be a very big fall for him, I would be overjoyed. And finally, interior D line. Obviously, we cut Grady Jarrett, one of my favorite players, one of two of the last players left on the Super Bowl team. Now we only have Jake Matthews. But Grady Jarrett's gone. And we did sign Morgan Fox from the Chargers, which is one of my favorite signings. I think he's underrated, but he is not a Grady Jarrett. And we do have this guy from Michigan, Kenneth Grant, who I think could be a great addition and for our D line, interior wise, obviously. He did run hot and cold in college, but can split double teams and is 340 pounds with long arms and has good strength. I think drafting Kenneth Grant would, or any defensive interior rusher, would help our defense stop the run and get to the quarterback. And I think, here we go. Who I want the Falcons to draft the most is Mykel Williams. I have us drafting Mykel Williams because of him being, in my opinion, the best edge rusher in this class behind Abdul Carter, who we definitely are not going to get. He played against Power Four conference opponents, and he had 3 years of production, aside from Mike Green, who only has one, or James Pierce, who only has two. And he comes without any of the off the field issues like these two guys, and he is unlike Shemar Steward, where he actually does have production. And then I have him over cornerback, who I would also love us getting a quarterback, Will Johnson. I would be overjoyed with, but I think we could get, I don't know. The edge rushers in the second and third round, they're still great. This is a deep edge rusher draft class. So if we grab Will Johnson in the first, I'd be okay with that, and then get an edge rusher, second, third round pick, and we don't have a third actually, second round pick or fourth round pick because we trade our third round pick for Matthew Judon, who was pretty buns, but I still want us to resign him because we do not have Jimmy Lake anymore, and I think he could be good in the right system. Linebacker, Jihaad Campbell, I would love, but like I said, he's a little high for the Falcons. So is Mykel Williams. Mykel Williams. If Mykel Williams is gone, my second guy would probably be Will Johnson. And if he's gone, then probably Mike Green. And that's the order of that. My top three guys. Sorry. If all of these guys I just mentioned are available, firstly, I want Mykel Williams. Secondly, I want Jihaad Campbell. And thirdly, I want Will Johnson. Fourthly would be Mike Green. And fifth would be James Pierce. That is the order of guys I want. If you made it to this part of the video, I appreciate it very much. This was 21 minutes. And watch the draft on Thursday. Root for the Falcons. Root for one of these guys. Tell me down below who you like the most, who you want us to draft. Don't come at me saying wide receiver. Don't come at me saying running back, quarterback, tight end. I I'm gonna block. No, I'm just kidding. But yep. Thank you guys for watching, and goodbye.